Alright, welcome back to the channel, everybody. Man, is it good to be making another video. It's been too long since I made a video. This has been the longest stretch since I started this channel of time where I have not made a video, actually posted a video. And this is a topic that I want to say I have made PowerPoints for in the past. I got started on this idea a couple of times, and for whatever reason, what I had made up didn't make sense, or I lost the initiative and it was taking up space in my storage, and so I got rid of it. But I was really inspired by listening to some of I Hate Dogs' older videos and listening to some of the stuff that he was talking about. So this may have been, well, I know it has been, touched on, but this is something I really wanted to absolutely pick apart. And most of the things that I have created videos on are based off of interactions that I have directly and personally had in person with people. For example, the video that I created called "You Cannot Raise a Dog," that's actually, I think, my #1 video as of this date. It was all because of this interaction that I had with a pit bull nutter who, when I basically got to talking crap about pit bulls and how there was a pit bull that every time I would mow my frickin' yard, the pit bull would bark and it would snarl and it would try to hop the fence. Just a medium-high fence. Not at all difficult for this dog to leap over if it wanted to. I was telling him, every single time I mow the lawn, I carry a gun because that dog is barking and snarling and threatening me, and anytime I get close, it tries to hop the frickin' fence. And it sounds like you got to talk to those neighbors. I wouldn't blame the dog, though. If it tried to do something, I wouldn't blame the dog. It's all about how you raise them. That's the line that they use. It's all about how you raise them. And it is not about how you raise them. It's about the fact that they're vicious, frickin' mindless animals, mutant animals that were bred to be vicious with large bulls. That's what it's all about. It's not all about how you raise them. But anyways, to get off topic, this is something that another interaction, and primarily I hear this a lot with women. And I'm not to say that this doesn't happen with men, but it's like I Hate Dogs said a while back, he was talking about how he primarily deals with people that he knew and knows, the type of people that he knows, and the type of people that he grew up with. And I'm only telling you these things because they're what I have experienced. So don't feel like I'm generalizing specifically women here, but this is a line that I have heard many times specifically from women. Like the picture says, "I'm a woman, I don't want kids. Stop thinking that we live to make families. Babies are gross. Give me a puppy any day." But the line that that's just a meme. There's a lot of that out there. There throughout the entire presentation here, I'm going to give you examples of pictures and memes and stuff that you can read it while I talk. It's going to be, this whole presentation is going to be loaded with awful, just garbage that you find on these dog knot forums and websites. But the line that I dealt with, I was working on a chair line, assembling chairs, and it was just a casual conversation. The person in subject, or the person in question, she asked me, because I had recently said I got married recently, and she said, "Oh yeah, you guys want kids?" I said, "Well, yeah, I think so. When the time comes, we talked about it, and blah blah blah." And then I reciprocated the question. I said, "How about you? Do you want kids?" And her answer was immediately defensive. "I never want to have kids. If I want something to take care of, I'll get a dog." Like, don't get me wrong, I don't hate kids. I play with my niece, but once she poops her diaper, I can hand her off to somebody else. I never want to have kids. If I want something to take care of, I'll get a dog. And likewise on other occasions. Kids require a lot of work. They talk back, they cry, you have to wipe their noses constantly. A dog, you just have to feed it and it will love you forever. Simple. These are lines of conversation that I've had with people in my own, directly in my own life. So, a lot of the stuff that I do these videos off of, I don't pull this off of the internet or out of thin air. All of the things that I have talked about and brought up are from interactions that I have had with real people. So I just wanted to get that out of the way, and today's topic is the replacement of children with dogs. So first of all, to address the elephant in the room, I have been incredibly busy over the past 8 months. I think it's been 8 months since I tried to since I successfully posted a video. I'll get rid of this real quick. I have tried a whole bunch of times to record several different videos. The first idea that I had in the pipeline, I could still use this idea. However, the footage that I got was really crappy, and it wasn't something I could edit together into something useful. It was just a lot of random footage of things. It was just really unprofessional, and it looked terrible. So the idea isn't out of the cards, but the footage that I have, I really just can't use it, and it's probably not even worth posting. It was a suggested list of things that you can use against dogs for self-defense, both non-lethal and lethal. Obviously, guns and some of the other items that I had were lethal. You can't get them everywhere in the world. Not everybody can go out and afford to, get a license, and some places that no matter what you do, unless you're like a politician or you've got connections, you can't carry, even if you can get your hands on a gun and ammo, so the idea was to post things lethal and non-lethal that anyone could get a hold of. The second video idea I had was a commentary on a video released by the USCCA, which is a concealed carry group that I am part of. And the video detailed the laws around whether you are allowed to shoot a dog in self-defense or not. Now, I made the entire 30-minute video, only to realize that I didn't mute myself while the video was playing, and it gave an awful echo, and I couldn't use any of the footage. It was completely ruined. I wasted a lot of time messing around with that, and it was another bust. But I'm still here with you guys. I have to be in the right state of mind and have some sort of inspiration, which I got when I was listening to I Hate Dogs' videos. I got the inspiration, and when I get it, I have to then immediately jump on it and begin writing about it and get the bare bones of the presentation in order to get a PowerPoint composed. And then at that point, I got to get a time to sneak away and record footage. Like, for example, it's 10:51 on a Saturday night. Got church in the morning, and I'm probably going to give up some much needed sleep. I don't know if you could tell, I've actually got another cold. This has been the worst cold I've ever had in my whole life. But I have to make sacrifices to keep this channel going, and I'm willing to do it. I'm still here with you guys. I'm not going anywhere. I'm proud to be someone that inspires others and helps others to better this world. And primarily humans in the way we think, feel, and interact with one another and the world around us. I want to wake people up to the fact that dogs are a crutch and a fake, worthless substitute for real, powerful, and meaningful human-to-human interaction. And on this channel, I intend to do just that until my fingers can no longer move to type. So, I probably don't need to tell you this, but the value for human life has greatly diminished. For example, if you look up value for human life on Google, the top search result, immediately what will pop out at you, economists say each human life is worth about $10 million. The very first search result is about how much money a human life is worth. In comparison to things, the amount of money, the amount of things that a human life compares to. I don't know if that disturbs you, but it disturbed me when I read it. When human life stops being sacred and is just a pound for pound equivalent to other stuff, people lose sight of the value of human life and the difference between human life and all other life here on Earth. When human life is simply reduced to a number or a statistic, then why wouldn't the life of a dog or any non-mutant animal be comparable to a human life? In today's culture, this is a big part of it, I believe. The push for individualism has made it so that you cannot judge, you cannot assume, you cannot tell anyone that what they are doing is morally wrong. You cannot even give an ounce of constructive criticism to others, even if it's totally, not malicious or it's being done in a loving way, because you yourself are not perfect. So then why should you be able to tell someone else how to live their life? The push for individualism and how every single person absolutely has the right to do whatever they want, and if you don't like it, too bad. This attitude that society has pushed, I believe, has divided us and left us callous towards one another. The unwillingness to set aside things like personal opinions, narrow-mindedness, and arrogance has made it so that if we disagree with one another on something, whether it's political or religious or work-related, I'm just using those as a general, those are some of the most common things that people disagree with, but just having differences in general, then that equates to hating one another. If you don't agree with me on blah, 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 then that means you hate me. And you hate all of these people. And for that reason, we're not willing to work together to make the world better. What is something that will not question you because it can't? It will not judge you because it can't. It will not tell you that you aren't perfect just the way you are because it can't. People who are arrogant, narrow-minded, and unwilling to work together with others do not value the lives of those around them. Part of the devaluing of human life, one of the results of that, is the unwillingness to put in work to nurture human life. If human life isn't valuable, then why would I bother why would I bother having children to raise? Hating children is becoming very, very common, and it's almost like popular. There's like this, I freaking hate kids club. Kids are just annoying little pieces of crap. Hating children and grouping children into a different category from adults, almost a different species from adults, has caused even further trouble. In reality, every child is a blank canvas to a certain extent, ready to be shaped and molded and brought up by those who are in care of them. But because so many people have lost sight of the value of human life, they're even more prone to hate children than they are to hate other adults, who for the most part don't run wild and crazy, act immaturely, and are in control of their facilities. Everywhere you look, you can't get away from this child-hating mentality. To give a few examples, in this awful BuzzFeed article, I won't go through the whole thing because it's just really sick. It's just really sick. To give a few examples, in this BuzzFeed article, they detail things that people who hate babies but love dogs all feel. The fact that something like this article is even socially and morally acceptable to post, to even morally acceptable to some, is just scary. And you'll find stuff like this all over the internet written by dog nuts. Hopefully it works. Alright. This article was written by Tabitha Leggett, probably mispronouncing that. And the article was posted, if you see here, it was posted on March 28 of 2017, but it's still valid. Nothing has changed from the standpoint of how dog nuts act. So the first one, some of these they do in a humorous way. Some of them it's just complete and utter BS. But we're going to go through a couple of these. And just to see some of the stuff that people who hate kids and love dogs, the stuff that they would use and say to justify their behavior. There's no easy way to say it. You hate babies and babies hate you. Wow, one ugly looking baby. Oh, yeah. As opposed to, other babies. But even though you're terrible at hanging out with babies, because, that's what babies do, they hang out. You're really, really good at hanging out with dogs. In fact, you always manage to befriend a dog wherever you go. You got the woman at a party, and she's too timid and too socially inept to make a human social interaction. But she finds a mutt, and it's begging for food, and that's a good party. Somehow the dog always finds you. It's like a fairy tale. But as soon as someone hands you a baby to hold, you instantly panic. And you suspect the baby can sense your fear, which makes them cry even louder. You really struggle with the fact that you can't have a conversation with a baby. You can't even reason with a baby. You can't even be like, what the heck was going on last night? The baby will never answer you, which makes conversations very boring and one-sided. And this is what I was talking about, where the BS comes into play. Oh, hi, Mom. No, I'm actually calling to talk to, no, not Dad. Pickles, is he there? And I'm not even going to make these noises, But the talking to a friendly pup is really no bother at all. Right, because you'll say, the baby will never answer you, as opposed to the dog, The dog will answer you, right. The problem with babies is that they contribute nothing to any conversation they're a part of, and yet they're always the center of attention, as opposed to dogs that, they've got so much to speak, and they've got such a wide array of intelligent thought to reflect on. It's awful, but a small part of you feels jealous of them. Whereas dogs contribute so much and deserve all the attention they get. There is no situation that isn't improved by a friendly pup. You would never volunteer to babysit a friend's baby. But you would pay literal money to dog sit a friend's dog. Even though you tell your friends their babies look cute, you secretly think they all like shrunken versions of fat old men, as opposed to dogs that have had their testicles cut off and their ears cut and their tails cut, and they've got droopy wrinkles, and their fur is overgrown. Dogs are cute. They can also be beautiful and elegant and glamorous, especially if you dye their frickin' hair pink. Nothing aggravates you more than a baby in the pub or the bar. Nothing delights you as much as a friendly dog in the bar. Just some terrible, terrible, awful stuff. The grossest thing about babies is that they dribble, as opposed to but when dogs drool, it's so cute, right? Because you're not afraid of the human saliva. You are afraid of the human saliva, but you're not afraid of the disease and parasite bearing saliva that comes out of the mouths of dogs that eat their own crap. Like this kind of stuff is all over the internet, of people who hate children, but they love dogs. So just in case you weren't already aware that this exists out there, this is the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. This attitude that there should be no more children. No one should have children, but that we should only have dogs. Or there should at least always be a dog in addition to the children. Okay, the instinct to care for your youth. The instinct to take care of children is not only wired into us from birth, into almost all living creatures, but it's also a learned behavior. According to an article from National Geographic, seeking success is a biological motivation in humans. We have evolved a drive to seek success. The more successful individuals in any society are the ones who would traditionally behind more offspring, and therefore get to be represented in the next generation. So caring for the youth isn't even just because we feel like it, or because we feel like we need to, or we have no other choice. Caring for your children has been the driving force that has shaped civilization since the beginning of time, since the beginning of humans on the earth. Those who have the most children and the smartest, strongest offspring are the ones who shape the future of this world. So now we're going to dive a little bit into this. What dogs and children have in common. Some of you might say, how could any of them make the comparison of a child to a dog? And this is one of those things where I like to say the term, there's no excuse for it, but I understand why. I understand how. I'm going to go out on a limb a little bit, but bear with me, it will make sense, and it will help me explain to you why some of these people get so hooked on dogs. And this is coming from somebody who, kind of like I Hate Dogs said, he preaches on what he knows and what he has experienced. And as somebody who is a lifelong Christian, and I teach, I'm using what I am familiar with. In the book of Matthew, the first book of the New Testament, the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 18, verse 3, Jesus is speaking to his disciples. It says, "Truly I tell you, unless you turn and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven." Even if you're not a believer in the Bible, this point is very self-evident. Part of the significance of that particular Bible verse is that back in the days when the Bible was written, children were looked down upon. And women were looked down on too. But children were seen as a burden to adults because children had nothing to give. They could only receive. In the verse described above, Jesus was saying to his disciples that unless you drop your ego, unless you drop your pride and your sense of yourself and realize that you are a sinner and cannot save yourself, and you become like an innocent child who can only receive, you will not go to heaven. That's the meaning of that verse. In the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 14, verse 20, again it says, "Brothers, stop thinking like children. In regard to evil, be infants, but in your thinking, be mature." So, now that the clarification has been given, whether you agree with the Bible or not, obviously, I'm not telling you what to do with your life, but the point that is being made is that children cannot give, they can only receive, and that's part of their innocence. Children are so innocent because they are helpless, they have nothing to give, they can only receive. The other thing is that the great majority of children don't have the grasp on the world that they need to understand the difference between right and wrong. Right? They are too young to know and understand what evil is. And we as adults strive to keep them safe from evil as long as we possibly can. The inability to understand the difference between right and wrong, paired with the inability to give, only to receive, is what makes children so innocent. People are able to realize the fact that because children are helpless, only able to receive, and are for the most part not capable of making the decision between right and wrong or good and evil. People are able to realize that fact. I think that this is where the mental disorder of dog ownership shines through. And even though there's no excuse for it, it doesn't make it okay. I think this is the reason why. This key point. The fact of the matter is, children are not supposed to be able to understand good and evil at a young age. They're not supposed to be able to hold down a full-time job and pay bills at a young age. Children are not developed and are not able to do these things, and that's the way it's supposed to be. In reality, play is a child's work. Children are not supposed to be able to communicate with us either until their brain develops enough where they can speak and understand language. It is our job as society to raise children in a loving and tactful way to create a better future. We put resources and time and love into children, and with any luck, the reward for our labor is the continuation of our species into a better future. And hey, don't forget to read, don't forget to keep reading these, all of these sideshow antics. So keep that in mind, what dogs and children have in common. Dogs, like children, do not have the ability to give. They don't have the ability to understand the difference between right and wrong. They can be trained to perform a variety of tasks using food as a reward, but they don't do the things that they do because of some innate ability to tell the difference between right and wrong. And the other thing is that dogs are not able to take care of themselves. Dogs as a species rely 100% on the human race to keep them fed, housed, to facilitate breeding, and to be controlled. Dogs do not have the ability to take care of themselves, and there are no other animals, not even cats, that rely solely on the human race to remain in existence as they are. Dogs are less direct responsibility, and like children are not intelligent enough to tell the difference between right and wrong, and they cannot communicate with us with language, and they can only receive. So there's this connection here. The problem with that logic, okay? To dog nuts, dogs give the same or oftentimes an even greater sense of accomplishment and of satisfaction than of even their own children. Dogs, like children, can only receive and are not capable of distinguishing between right and wrong. In fact, dogs are also never able at any point in their lives able to give, to distinguish right from wrong, or to communicate with us. So in the dog nut's head, the dog will always be the baby. However, where this fact, not being able to communicate, not being able to give, and the inability to distinguish between right and wrong, where that fact, those attributes guarantee children's innocence, it does not make dogs innocent. An inability to tell the difference between right and wrong, an inability to communicate, and the ability to only receive is the reason that dogs do not belong in the home or in human territory. A dog is not a baby. It is a meat-eating, carcass-scavenging, opportunistic predator that will attack when it sees a weaker entity or when it gets the chance. Even as mutated as some of the dogs of today are, they still retain the instincts to hunt and to kill, no matter how large or small. The advice that all dog nuts experts say, never leave your children alone with dogs. That advice rings hollow and empty when you know from the beginning that dogs can use their teeth to bite down onto the throat of a newborn and kill it. The fact that any person would leave their own safety and the safety of their family in the hands of a creature which cannot talk, cannot distinguish between good and evil, and is by nature, regardless of size, a mindless, savage, frickin' predator, is absolutely the height of mental disorder and of self-destructive behavior. So to sum it up, anyone who's ever had their frickin' child's throat ripped out by the family dog, before that happened, they considered their dog their baby, just like all of these other dog nuts do. They considered the dog their baby before and even sometimes after it happens. Regardless of breed, dogs are not innocent. They are not loving. But first and foremost, they are not your children. The inability to do anything but receive, to communicate, and the lack of intelligence to understand the difference between right and wrong, combined with the fact that a dog possesses the tools it needs to kill, is precisely the reason that a dog is not innocent. The same attributes that make children innocent make a dog not innocent. The dog is not innocent, but it is a menacing creature that has no place in your home or any person's home. And even if you get a dog that isn't aggressive, let's say it's not aggressive its entire life. It shows no aggression towards others, and it gets along with you and your family. Let's say all that is true. Behind the sham of whatever it is that you believe, it is a fake facade that would end immediately if you ran out of food to give the dog, and if you were vulnerable to being attacked. A dog cares not for you or for your life. I really don't know what would make anyone think that a dog would, the mind of a dog is any different than any other wild animal. The only difference really is that a dog is a mutant. So it's more aggressive even than a regular animal. And rather than avoiding us, avoiding humans, the way that wild animals do, dogs come towards us. Dogs flood into our territory. And this is even in other countries where they're not feeding the frickin' things. They're not patting them and rubbing them and having sex with them. The dog does not care for you or your life. It cares only about food and what it can get out of you. It is not a substitute for a child that you can use to satisfy the need, the instinct that you have to nourish and love a helpless living thing. It is a worthless, mindless, disease-spreading mutant animal that is not biologically capable of love, remorse, or any emotion that humans are born with the ability to exert. It is not worthy of your love and affection, your resources, your time, or of anything of value that you or anybody else had to work for. Ooh. Okay, so calm down a little bit here. More and more, okay, as this country and as this world becomes divided, liberals and conservatives, whites and blacks, Hispanics and Asians, straights and gays, people of every background, religion, line of work, gender, age, type of interest, any category, any way that you could separate any group of people from another. When anyone from anywhere gets a dog and gives it any form of affection, love, care, or concern, or anything valuable instead of another person, it hurts me to watch. It hurts me to know. If people could only see dogs for what they are, the way that you and I do, the way that most of the people who are part of our movement, in fact, do, they would realize that their dog is nothing more than an angry, two-faced, homeless creature, seeking whom it may take advantage of. A dog is just a frickin' junkie. It wants food, it wants free everything. And in exchange, it's going to do nothing for you. You dog nuts interpret a dog's behavior as love, because if it were a child behaving this way, it would be love. The disconnect is that the attributes that make children innocent and loving do the same appearance of those attributes do not apply to dogs, because they're frickin' mindless mutant animals that only care about food. They would see this thing which cannot communicate back with them, cannot help them become a better person. They would understand that taking their life and the life of their family, God, I'm tired. I just lost my spot. They would see that this thing which cannot communicate back with them, cannot help them become a better person. Understand that they're taking their life and the life of their family and putting it up to chance that the dog doesn't attack them is suicidal. It's Russian roulette, and it's unfathomably foolish. That would be like pulling out a loaded gun, putting the safety on, and leaving it in the middle of the room. The gun didn't go off. What a well-designed, well-engineered gun. We love our gun. Hey, Dad, can I hold the gun? Can I look down the barrel? Is there a bullet in it? It didn't go off. What an awesome gun. You're playing Russian roulette. That is actually such a good comparison. Leaving your children alone with a loaded gun. is less dangerous than leaving them alone, or even bringing into the room, even it doesn't even matter if they're alone or not, if you're there or not, bringing a pit bull or a dog into the room with your children. They would at the very least, these people at the very least, stop wasting their limited resources on a creature that doesn't belong here on this earth the way that it currently exists. If we could get rid of dogs, get our heads out of our phones and pull our minds out of our own little worlds for a while, maybe we could make some genuine steps towards a greater future for us all. Okay, I put this in here just in case I had something else to say, and I kind of do. You know, everybody has hobbies and things that interest them, and they contribute, they put energy towards these things, and the reward that they get out of whatever these activities are, sometimes the reward is subjective. Even, you know, you can see my my big heavy 44 Magnum down there. You know, I spent my tax return on that a couple years ago. To many, a big heavy gun like that, you wouldn't do anything with it. It wouldn't be worth anything to you. Even if you're a gun person, some people can't shoot a big massive gun like that. But I can. And it's a lot of fun to shoot. That is a subjective reward. For me, it's worth it. And you know, I keep all my stuff locked up in a safe. I practice gun safety. I have a license to own the things that I do. They're registered. Everything that I do is 100% legal. Just as a disclaimer. But there is absolutely no subjective reward to owning a vicious, worthless, frickin' diseased, mutant animal. You know, at one point in time in history, dogs may have served a purpose to protect livestock or to do all that. But now you're talking about treating them like children. You're talking about letting them sleep in your bed. You're talking about doing things that are insane. They're insane. And I really I can't accept it, and I will not accept it. I will never stop making these videos. So if you're listening, I hope you're subscribed, and I hope you stick around, because we need you for this fight, and together we can make a difference. I know everybody frickin' says that for their movement, but this is something where the truth is so self-evident, and when the truth comes out, it's a lot harder to shut someone up when you know they're right. I would encourage you to subscribe to I Hate Dogs, subscribe to Chef Mutt Meat, subscribe to Dogs Are Garbage, aka Ashley. There are a whole bunch of other channels out there. Ranty McDog Hate, Vasectomy Fail, Canine Constrictor, Canine Contrarian, Toxic Paw Print, Rational Cleanliness. Forgive me if I forget. I watch all of your videos, and I consider all of you, each and every one of you, my friend. And I hope you feel the same way. I would encourage you to subscribe to all of those channels. Suck up as much information as you possibly can to arm yourself. And I would also encourage you, as always, to love the sinner and hate the worthless dog. I'll see you next time.